Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Gonna read through. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to give you an overview of this topic as opposed to reading through the whole article. There's a link in the description. Full condolences to the victim concerned. The victim is called Susan Stanford. She was 69 years of age, and she was killed in an Asda car park in Paul, Dorset, which is in South England. She was just leaving the supermarket, Asda, and she was pushing her trolley as she was leaving the area in this kind of region here, we believe. And she was struck by a vehicle driven by this guy. His name is Erickson Andres, 41 years of age. He's a chef, if that makes any difference. It doesn't make any difference. But he was the driver, and he struck the victim, Susan. Susan has left behind a husband, Dave, and also two daughters. Obviously, the whole family is devastated, and full condolences to the family of Susan. So, what happened? She was leaving the shopping centre. Eric Andres, 41, knocked her over. He didn't see her, seemingly. I don't know how he would miss seeing somebody pushing a shopping trolley in a supermarket car park, but apparently he did. He dragged her body beneath his car, which went completely over her. Mrs. Stanford was conscious when paramedics reached her side, but she died from traumatic brain injuries in hospital 6 days later on September the 26th, 2020. Okay, so it is a tragedy, and this is very important. He dragged her body beneath his car, which went completely over her. So he ran over her. He ran over her. Okay, so what sentence has he been given? Well, that's why we're looking at this topic. He's been given a very light sentence, and you may feel that this sentence is perfectly fine. You may feel that this is woefully unjust, given that he ran his car completely over the victim, which caused her death. So he's been charged with, or sentenced rather, with a 12-month community order, which has 250 hours of unpaid work attached to it. He was also banned from driving for 12 months. In my opinion, being banned from driving for 12 months is nothing. I've gone several years without feeling the need to drive. I think most people can put up with not driving for 12 months. If somebody is responsible for the death of another human being due to their driving skills or lack thereof, then, giving up, not being able to drive for 12 months, that's not punishment enough in that regard, in my opinion. A community order with 250 hours of unpaid work. 250 hours of unpaid work is roughly equivalent to about 6 weeks of full-time work. So it's roughly equivalent to doing 6 weeks of work without being paid. Is that justice enough for killing somebody? Not really, not really. In addition, he's had a couple of fines, but they're extremely minor, and I'm going to say insultingly so. He's been ordered to pay a £95 victim surcharge and £85 costs. Less than £200 financial fees he's got to pay. So he's really got off very lightly. I should have said already, he's been charged with, and he admitted, a charge of causing death by careless driving. Causing death by careless driving. And again, this is important. He dragged her body beneath his car, which went completely over her. He ran over her. Why am I repeating that point? I'm repeating that point because it's a key point in my mind. I mean, we weren't at the trial. We didn't hear what the prosecution or the defendant had to say. We don't know all of the last details. So it's hard for us to make an absolute judgment call in regards to this, but that's a pretty important point. He ran over somebody. So he's been charged, he's been convicted of careless driving causing death. Now here's another very important point. He was traveling at 5 miles per hour at the time. 5 miles per hour. So that's a very slow speed. It's a typical speed for a car park, but it's very, very slow. So on one hand, this is the struggle that I'm facing. On one hand, if he was paying attention whilst driving, and he's only driving at a very low speed, 5 miles per hour, on that basis, I feel it hard to overly punish this guy. Accidents do happen. Accidents do happen. Tragic accidents do happen. Every last one of us, when we drive, we make errors, we make mistakes. We don't concentrate every single moment, even when we try to. We are humans have certain faults. We're not perfect robots. If he's driving 5 miles per hour, I kind of feel that he deserves leniency on one hand. Having said that, he ran her over. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, look, buddy, how the hell do you manage to run somebody over? You're only going 5 miles per hour. Now, even if you're not paying full attention, or even if you have a moment's lack of concentration, and you strike somebody traveling at 5 miles per hour, how do you not stop immediately? You apply the brakes, and then the car comes to an immediate halt. How do you manage to run over somebody completely? That's the part that gets me. That's the part that makes me suspect that these details are not correct, or perhaps not correct. Maybe he wasn't traveling at 5 miles per hour. Maybe he was traveling faster than that. I can't say. I don't know. That's, all I know is that this is the information provided within this article, which is what was stated at the Poole Magistrates Court, that he was traveling at 5 miles per hour. Somehow somebody determined that to be the case. Well, then why didn't you just apply the brakes? That part is what's troubling me. He says that he pulled up to a junction in the car park. He looked right, he looked left, and then turned right. At this moment, the defendant was struck. The victim was struck, rather. Look, so if he's only going 5 miles per hour and he's doing the right thing, he's looking left, he's looking right prior to turning, how did this accident happen? If he's driving slowly and he's paying attention and he's looking left and looking right, how did you manage for this to happen? Something doesn't add up, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I don't know. I'm speculating. But I'm struggling to be able to process the fact that he was traveling at such a slow speed and seemingly paying attention, looking left, looking right, and yet he managed to run her over. Striking again. I think I might be repeating myself. Apologies if I am, but I can understand that accidents do happen. I can even in a car park area, a supermarket car park area, accidents can happen. But she was a 69-year-old woman. She wouldn't have been running around with the trolley. She would have been walking, pushing the trolley at a slow speed in an area where that's where you're supposed to do. Now, here is a picture here, and one thing that I note within this picture is I don't see a little pedestrian crossing. Maybe there is one. I would suggest that there ought to be one. If people are coming out from the supermarket here and they want to go to their cars around here, there ought to be a pedestrian crossing, I would have thought. But regardless of that, my feeling is that something isn't quite right. My feeling is that either he was traveling at more than 5 miles per hour, or he simply was not paying any attention at all. Again, I'm repeating myself, but if you strike someone, you put the brake on. You're traveling 5 miles per hour. It be an immediate stop. I can imagine, running somebody over partially, breaking their leg, crushing their leg. Obviously, that's not good, but it's not as bad as running them over completely. That's the part that gets me, and I'm sorry for going in circles. So, as to the question as to whether or not we're happy with the sentencing here, I'm not 100% convinced. I don't have 100% conclusion, really, because of the weak amount of information we're being presented here. We're not being given a lot of information, and we ought to be. They would have had CCTV cameras all around this area. I would have hoped that there would be some footage in regards to this, and that would have been presented within the at the magistrate's court. I would have thought that would be my guess. But given that we don't have a lot of information, it's very hard for me to come to a conclusion in this case, but I'm going to tell you my opinion in any case. My opinion is these fines here are disgustingly low and just ought to be abandoned. They're insultingly low. Don't if you're going to fine somebody, fine them a sizable amount which acts as a punishment, a preventative measure, but not a disrespectfully low amount when it's in regards to the death of a person. To me, and maybe you feel this is irrational, unreasonable or such, but to me that's insultingly low, and I wouldn't want these numbers here attached in regards to the death of a member of my family. You know what I mean? So I'm not happy with that. 250 hours of unpaid work. Well, no, I'm not happy with that either. That's too low. Not going to jail, I'm happy with. Avoiding jail, I'm okay with, if it is fact that he was traveling 5 miles per hour and he was paying attention. If that is fact, then okay, fine. Accidents happen. This is a tragic accident, but it wasn't done on purpose, and he wasn't being overly negligent if he was paying attention and going that low speed. So, okay, no jail. But which is why I question those things. I question whether or not he was in fact going 5 miles per hour, and if he was paying attention. Because if I struggle to process how he managed to run her over. So I would bump up that 250 hours of unpaid work. I don't know, make it significantly higher over the course of several years, perhaps a couple of years, whatever it happens to be. But that's too low. And being banned from driving for 12 months, well, why 12 months? If the guy manages to run somebody over whilst he's paying attention in his mind, just ban him for life. What's the harm in banning him for life? Banning him for 5 years or whatever. Why 12 months? 12 months is nothing, especially in this day and age of lockdowns. And we know lockdowns are going to come back. I strongly suspect it. So it's not punishment enough. I'm going to wrap things up at this point here. Hopefully this has been an interesting topic. Again, full condolences to the family concerned. Susan leaves behind her husband, Dave, and 2 children, Jadine and Kirsty. Of course, they're devastated, naturally. So we just hope that they get through this. And I'll thank you for your time.